Welcome to Civitavecchia, Italy, Rome's port. Our excursion for today is to the Etruscan necropolis of Tarquinia. This was a 4-hour included excursion. Excursion details presented at the end of the video. We had originally planned on doing the included Snapshots of Rome tour, but at the port talk the night before, we learned that the excursion basically just drops us off and we would wander around on our own. Therefore, we changed to visit the Etruscans and headed off on our 8 a.m. excursion. Getting close to the necropolis, we saw a Roman aqueduct. Only it's not a Roman aqueduct, it's a modern aqueduct built in 1710. But it looks like a Roman aqueduct. After a half-hour bus ride, we made it to the visitor center of the necropolis of Tarquinia. The Etruscans started using this area as a burial center about 7th century BC. We first saw one of the older sections. The graves have no names on them, but we know that the rectangular graves signify female and the circular graves signify male. The necropolis is known for the painted tombs, and those are protected by a shelter, which you see scattered all among the grounds. The guide did a great job of going from shelter to shelter, explaining what the tomb was and what to look for as we entered the chamber. Now, let's go see some tombs. As the Etruscan society progressed, the underground tomb chambers got larger and were more elaborately painted. The guide explained how the tombs were integrated into Etruscan life. I almost immediately discovered that my education had totally omitted an advanced society that predated the Romans. The Etruscans in Tarquinia were an important power all the way back to the 8th century and reached their peak in the 4th century BC. They retained their importance for so many centuries because of the resources in the area. The Etruscan society watched Roman society grow in power and influence up until 180 BC, when Tarquinia became a Roman colony. They used this as a burial site over that entire time. However, after becoming a Roman colony, the burial practices changed, and they stopped building the painted chambers. The burial chambers were very much for the rich, and show a change over time based upon what was important in the Etruscan society. There are about 6,000 tombs excavated in this great necropolis, but only about 22 of the tombs can be viewed by the public. They have taken steps to protect the tombs by sealing the door so that you cannot step inside, but you can view the interior through windows into the tomb area. Above ground, they have constructed a shelter to protect the tomb from the elements. The chambers were lost to the ages until the late 1400s, when there was some archaeology digging for the tombs. But it really took off in the early 1800s, when various tombs were unearthed and examined. Each tomb is unique and reflects the personality of the rich person buried there. Many of the frescoes feature scenes of dining and dancing and images representing a journey from before into the afterlife. In the early Etruscan tombs, images of family and society as well as nature seem to be important to the deceased. This tomb represents the later Hellenistic period when the Etruscan society was changing their views of death and viewing more demons than in prior years. As you walk between the tombs, you get a great view of the countryside. Down below is an old dilapidated power plant and paper mill. After exploring the ancient necropolis for an hour and a half, we hopped back on the bus and headed to the charming town of Tarquinia. As we entered the town, we passed by impressive city walls, complete with towers and turrets. These walls date back to the 6th century BC, and they are a testament to the city's rich history. Our next stop was the main plaza, where the Renaissance Palace Vitelleschi houses the Museum of Archaeology. The plaza has businesses and residents facing the plaza, with a nice place to sit down to have a meal under cover. Right off the plaza is a 12th century Church of Giovanni, which belongs to the Order of the Knights of Malta. After a little free time in the plaza, we headed over to the museum entrance. Upon entering the museum, we were greeted by an atrium featuring the 2 floors on 3 sides supported by columns and arches. This atrium was a great place to start our exploration of the museum's exhibits. The museum houses the grave goods from the necropolis, and our guide led us around, sharing fascinating stories about the many Etruscan sarcophagi we encountered. Each sarcophagus lid has the carved image of the deceased. Each image was unique, but posed in the exact same manner. If you were wealthy during that time, we get to see your likeness in the museum. But if you weren't as rich, well, you're just dust now. The museum has a recreated tomb filled with items just as they were when they were discovered. In addition to the tomb, there are many rooms displaying a vast collection of art and pottery on shelves. The Etruscans were incredibly skilled potters and metalworkers, showcasing a civilization that was ahead of its time by centuries, even before the Roman Empire began to rise. The intricate pottery shows the influence of Greek artisans and documents they were trading with Athens, even in the 6th century BC. It was a truly captivating to wander through the halls and examine these incredible artifacts left by people thousands of years ago. After an hour in the museum, we headed back to the bus to return to the ship. Along the way, we glimpsed several excavated tombs still covered with dirt and grass, which date back to the 6th century. Once aboard the ship, we had a great panoramic view of the harbor. You have a nice view of Fort Michelangelo and the older Fort San Pietro right along the harbor. Since this was only a 4-hour tour, we were able to relax and watch the ship depart the harbor just before the sun began to set. Excursion details presented at the end of this video.